serious.
Welcome, everybody, to the Mike and Andree show. This is your host, Andree, and Mike is not here today, but today we have a good day. We have a lot going on, and so I'm excited, and you should be excited too. And today we want to first just pay homage and condolences to not only Kobe Bryant, but all of the families that was uh, killed in that accident. We haven't had an opportunity last week to come on and talk to you guys about it, but we just want to send our condolences to all the families and also giving everybody their peace and space that they needed. Another thing I could say to you today is if you love someone, let them know that you love them today. Don't wait until something happens to make people realize that they were at one point or they are at some point important to you. Okay. And then I want to say happy birthday to my son. I had an opportunity to spend time with him in Tucson. No, he's from Tucson, Arizona. See, I'm still sleepy. He's from Tucson, Arizona, but he actually had his birthday in Vegas. And we had a really, really good time in Vegas. I was able to do a lot with him. I was able to spend time not only with him, but with my daughter-in-law as well. And so I just want to make sure that we send that happy birthday shout out to my dear son. And moving right along for that is U Hollywood Awards in Florida. Oh, there I am. Hi, y'all. They have the U Hollywood Awards in Florida. And I was nominated for two of my movies. And so they did a nice write up about me on uhollywood.com. UOLLY, yeah, WOOD, uhollywood.com. So if you go on there, you'll see my little picture with a write up about Andree Harris, yours truly. Yes. So two of my movies were nominated for to be nominated for amongst the great writers and actors and all that good stuff. But anyway, so I'm grateful for that and send a shout out to you Hollywood Awards. And then, the awards for the movie is Backwards and the other movie is Vita. So these two movies have been running neck and neck and neck and neck and neck. And I am just so elated. I'm so grateful. I can't complain about none of it. And I'm just happy. And you know what? And it's because of you all. You all have made it possible for where I am today. Now, I am in California. So that's why you see me on the screen. And I am here to celebrate one of my girlfriend's birthdays, but I'm also here because I'm going to be meeting my publicist here. I'm also here because our special guest made it here with me as well. So we have a lot to talk about today. We have a lot that we're going to be discussing. And we have another call-in number that you're able to call in on. And that would be 301 442-1716. So I will again give you that number, 301-442-1716, and you're able to call in and speak to our guests. I want to say hello to everybody from all over the world. It's morning in some places and it's nighttime in some other places. So I just want to say hello to all of you. Thank all of you for joining me and being here with us today. And don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with my special guest. We'll be right back.
A celebration, a celebration, a celebration, a celebration. We gon' celebrate forever. Celebration, a celebration, a celebration, a celebration, a celebration. We gon' celebrate forever.
Stay high in my hope. He's alive, he revives, I ride with the ghost. El Shaddai, he can't lie, he provide for the folk. Through the fire, water's hot, won't let you drown on that boat. Put my hope, the one that spoke to the wind, defend me from my enemies. Every need, even the big, knocked me out, I was in sin. Gave my life so I could live again. All praise I get him. And we finna win. Light of day in my nighttime. Jesus Christ in my lifeline. I don't know who they serve, that's my word, they God ain't like mine. With me in the valley low, put me on that mountain.
Yes, and we are back with the Mike and Andree show. And today, my special guest is Danny Keys, who is one of the world's most phenomenal customer service manager. She has an ebook called The Danny Keys Report, and it's the guide to customer service. Um, she'll go to a establishment, and it's just the customer service in her. She just can't help if you don't say hi, if you don't greet, if you're not doing your job, you will know about it. And so I'm really, really. Not only is she, not only is she a phenomenal woman. Some of you have seen us together in pictures. She's also my sister girlfriend. And because of that, I was sitting there. I was like, wait a minute. Why do we have to wait for you to come to DC or come back to LA, California? Why don't you just get on the show today? So of course she had to go and get it together, but she got that together. So without further ado, I would like for you guys to meet my guest, my friend, Miss Danny Keys. Danny, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we're not even going to try to squeeze this thing in together because it's not on my MacBook. But this is really about you today, about you giving the viewers and our friends and all the people all over the world an opportunity to get up close and personal with you. So let's start out from Danny, the little girl, before you became the founder of Mint, and before we even get to finding out what Mint really means. Talk to us about Danny growing up in this, just growing up as a little kid. You and I had an opportunity to get really heart to heart this morning about some trials, and it came about in us going over my book that's coming back out, and we just talked about childhood interrupted. So let's just kind of sort of tap into that a little bit about childhood.
Well, in customer service, I always say that for me, you can, when you meet someone, they always say the first impression is key.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's true. You can either create a moment of magic or a moment of misery.
Wow.
But for me, that stems from a very young little girl.
Okay.
I didn't have the best of childhood. I had a traumatic childhood, but it also gifted me
Okay.
kindness.
Wow.
And as a child, you either adapt to your surroundings by becoming bitter or better.
Okay. Wow. Wow. And I like that. And I think I have a topic like that in one of the pages talking about am I willing to become better or am I willing to stay bitter? And so let's talk about bitter and better. Let's talk
Okay.
about that.
Well, in a customer service experience, let's just take a restaurant, for example. When you go to a restaurant, you maybe have been to this restaurant 10 times, and 9 of those were great. The customer service, servers, and the waitress, and even the manager, were always great. So you always keep coming back. But then you come in one day and you get a mediocre or a horrible experience.
Okay.
Well, your customer service for that company only goes as far as your last impression.
So before we get there, tell us, like, okay, we were talking about in the beginning, before you realized that you were going to be into customer service, this is my life. Tell us about how your childhood was. Like, how did you grow up? Did you grow up in a great environment? Did you grow up having a 2-parent home and everything was buttoned up and beautiful and white is the white picket fence? I mean, what? Tell us about
It
that.
definitely was not by any means the all-American dream.
Wow.
I grew up with divorced parents who actually married twice, but they divorced when I was 3 months old.
Wow.
And so I actually lived with my dad,
Okay.
who has been married 6 times, and having to deal with girlfriends.
Wait. Your father was married 6 times?
Yes, ma'am.
So you had 6 stepmothers?
2 was my mom.
Okay, right. He was married twice to your mother, and then 4 other times.
Yep.
So and you grew up with your dad?
I did.
So how did that affect your life?
Again, I had to adapt to what I was forced to accept as a child, meaning, when my dad even, he was always gone, he was working, or when he, did have girlfriends and their kids, I was always forced to mate like them. And it kind of gave me a fake sense of identity.
Stop right there. Again, childhood interrupted.
Correct.
You were forced to make yourself like somebody or pretend that they were likable so that the repercussions were great and not. And what
Correct.
did that do for you?
Well, I actually say that it helped me grow.
Okay.
As you know, I say when you know better, you grow better.
Mm-hmm. That's her favorite line. Of course, it's in my book, but it came from her. When you know better, you grow better.
True. Well, and so I took those circumstances and I said, you know what? One, I'm not going to force that onto my children nor anyone else.
Okay.
So I would start looking for ways to, as I say, beneficence, be a giver.
Okay.
Be helpful, solving problems. When I saw something that I could help with, I did it.
Okay.
Which led me into that field.
Okay. Of customer service.
Correct.
Then you yourself, you ended up married with kids. And one of the things that brought our relationship together was our special needs children.
Correct.
Oh, our kids call us aunties. So I'm her kids' auntie regardless. And that's what brought us together when I was doing the Say So radio station right here at WLVS. And you called in, and your daughter actually became the one of our we call them our poster children. Mm-hmm. And we were just tight ever since because we were able to go through the motions of being mothers of children with special needs. That right there, how did you transform? Because again, you were married with children. How did growing up affect your life as an adult?
Well, coming from what I knew to be a real experience for me, I decided and made in my mind that I was not going to allow that to happen to my children. And I'm okay saying, what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was, as an 8-year-old, molested by a cousin.
Okay.
And therefore, into adulthood, fast forward, I have a daughter who doesn't really speak. She's non-verbal.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to shield her from that, which taught me how to, one, become flexible in my career life.
Okay.
Becoming overprotective in my mom life. And when I say mom, I always reference my customer service to that, because for me, my MOM means make others matter.
Wow.
Because as moms, that's exactly what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So it just was a no-brainer for me.
Okay.
And so it led me to start teaching others what people kept telling me was my gift. And in fact, in the beginning, I didn't actually know it was my gift.
Mm-hmm.
It was me.
You are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it just kind of evolved into where we are today.
So watching your father with 4 wives plus 2 times your mother.
And all the girlfriends and their kids in between.
The girlfriend and kids in between. I'm sure you had to fight, fight your way, fight for a place and all these kind of things. And when you finally got into your marriage, and the father of your children, how was your marriage? How did it work? Are you still married today?
No.
So what happened there?
Well, what happened there was, unfortunately, I selected a husband who mimicked my father, just not in the education realm.
Okay.
But as far as like characteristics, what I knew in my mind to be love,
mm-hmm.
I selected a husband just like him.
Okay.
And, well, unfortunately, after 9 women, I had to make a decision.
Hold on. After 9 women?
Yes.
So you stayed through 9 women?
I did, because I didn't want to end up divorced like my parents. Therefore, I made it in my mind
that we're going to stick and stay. Now, you know what? Now, people that are watching may say, oh, you stupid, oh, you this, or you're that. But when and I was just sharing with a friend of mine on the phone last night, and Danny and I spoke this morning, for me, coming from a pastoral point and a religious point, it was always, don't divorce, don't do this, don't separate. People are going to, your success and failure of a marriage will be contingent on how long y'all stay together. Not knowing that people are still together, but they're miserable. Mm-hmm. Or the biggest one, we're going to stay together till the kids get grown.
Yep.
In the meantime, so we lived and we grew up on those myths. I wanted to be like my grandparents, stay together 54 and a half years before death took them away from one another. Or some of my other friends and parents who were together 40, 50 years. And shout out to the Ashton Brown Sr. and his wife, who've been together 50 years in February. And I just, we want to be like them because they're good examples. But those old-fashioned relationships were very genuine relationships. And so we ended up with this fairy tale life that we wanted, and we didn't get it. But we stayed in it and wanted to come out, and we don't really want to talk to people sometimes because we're supposed to have the answers.
Yeah.
And so we live with shame. We live with guilt. We live with fear. We live with the what ifs. And then when you finally made that move to come out, tell me about it.
Well, at the time, I had a husband who, the latter parts, was well built. I felt secure in my marriage with my husband that he would protect me. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't that little 8-year-old girl anymore, and I wasn't afraid.
Okay.
So I made the decision because I was tired of having to go to family functions and look at him.
Wow.
That I had told my husband at that time prior to going what the situation was, and that I felt like it was time for me to tell my parents.
Wow.
And he said, okay, I'm right behind you. And they said, behind me or beside me? Because I need you to get a little close. Mm. But I did tell my mother, and it hit her real hard.
Wow. So when because we got out of that and we're back on the abuser that you're seeing regularly at the family functions. Mm-hmm. Okay. When you told your family, I know we probably all over the place, but we're like right here. This is not scripted, so we're going with the flow. When you told your family about what happened to you, because I know we said after 9 women got out the marriage, I wanted to know, how did you feel coping after the marriage was over? How did you cope? How did the kids cope after the marriage was over? Then I want to go back into this molestation point, but how did the kids cope with you and your husband separating?
Well, when we separated, he left. And when I say left, like Elvis left the building, left.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
He left. Okay.
So they didn't cope with, as they got older, my 2 sons, were longing for that father-son relationship that my dad always tried to feel for them, but it's always very different.
Right.
It's very different for them now that they're getting, they're older and they need that, manly role that, I had to personally step back, even from dating, because I didn't want to put the wrong person in play or give them that role.
Okay.
Because I wasn't, to be frank, I wasn't real sure that I trusted myself with my selection after him.
Okay. So where is y'all relationship now as it stands now? I know you're divorced and you've moved on, he's moved on, etc. Where's your relationship now as it stands?
Well, he's still where he is, and I'm still where I am.
And that's moved on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now I think we want to take a quick break and come back, because I want to talk about Kid Interrupted and when you got into an adulthood, and then we want to talk about your business. So we're getting all of this out because we want to come back and talk about, no, let's not take a break. Okay. Let's just talk about when you saw the family function and your husband was with you at the time and you shared it with your family. Then what?
Well, I want to tell you that while my dad, the marriage track record for him wasn't great. I do want to compliment my dad, though. Okay. I love my dad to pieces. So if anybody thinks otherwise, they really don't know me. My dad is my heart. I do.
That girl love her dad.
Dad's little girl.
She is.
I adore him. And, the one thing that my dad always did do right was show me that education was important.
Wow.
So once I moved on from my husband, I then, threw myself, because I also saw my dad be a workaholic.
Okay.
I knew that if I tapped into education, my dad used to tell me, it's either 2 years, you can either study for 2 years or the rest of your life. What do you want to do?
Wow.
So even when people, debate when they get to a certain age about whether they should go back to college or even go to college, I always remember what my dad taught me. He told me, do you want to struggle for 2 years or the rest of your life?
Wow.
And so I just started learning. And what I learned was learning was my outlet. Like some people got jogging. That's not my gift, by the way. Some people have jogging as an outlet, meditation as an outlet. Mine is learning. I love learning. It feeds me.
Wow. So we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back because we're going to talk about what learning has afforded Danny. And then we will talk about what learning from Danny can afford you. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
The Bible. celebration, a celebration, a celebration, a celebration. We gon' celebrate forever. Celebration, a celebration, a celebration, a celebration, a celebration, a celebration. We gon' celebrate forever.
Oh, thank you for being so patient with us. And also, those flyers you saw, Lola is a movie that's coming out the private premiere in New York, March 7th, where yours truly was there. And then The Champ is Here is a talent showcase that we're doing. The audition is coming up again this week. So just be on the lookout for that. But I am back with my wonderful, wonderful guest today. And so we are definitely having a great time, but I want to talk about what learning has done for Danny. Some people just love to learn because knowledge is power. Now, I'm one that loves to learn and I like all those nice things. But because I have someone who learns all the time, so what she does is, I'm telling you, she's going to talk to you about what learning has done for her, and then we will talk about what learning can do for you. Because what learning from her can do for you is workable. Believe you me, this morning, like it's like 8:29 here in California. But we're up 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, kicking it, having coffee, and really, really brainstorming. Now, I know I'm her big sister, but she is like my big sister in learning because everything, when you know too much and you think you had it all, you should be done. But when you're able to continue to learn, when you're green, you can still grow. And so you want to be able to stay green, stay humble, allow your likenesses to come together and build. She and I just launched a company this morning. Well, some of you would probably sleep because like 3 o'clock in the morning, your time. But we know our time. But we launched a business that we truly believe is going to be very, very profitable and successful. And we'll talk more about that and helpful. We'll talk more about that later on, maybe next week, once everything is down and down pat, because we want to do something different. And also kill the lie that women can't work together. You just can't build with everybody because everybody doesn't have your best interests at heart. But we can all work together when we put our minds together. So for her and I, thank God we're friends, but this is not about our friendship. It's about business and empowering one another. But it's because of our friendship that allow us to get up at 4 in the morning, come down to a computer station and just talk and pour it all out. But anyway, I want her to talk about what learning has done for her. And she's going to give you the whole spiel because this is her time now to give you the whole spiel about how Mint came to be. I'll give it to you.
Well, I know you know about my daughter, but I also am not only a daughter of one special needs child. Yeah. I happen to be a single mother of three who have a variety of different disabilities. And before anyone asks, yes, they are all by the same roaster. Just saying. It was just the way that it was meant for me to have them. And, every challenge presented an opportunity for me with them. I think it's not one of my credentials, but I think I could be a hostage negotiator. I'm just saying.
You can.
But in having three special needs children, being a single mother, it didn't allow me for your typical 9-to-5 job. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I kept trying to navigate through finding flexibility in different careers. So if you ask me, I actually do hold 13 credentials. Um, and I actually graduated second in my college class with 3 kids. Just so
Wow.
But I want to caveat that to say I was also a high school dropout.
Wow.
So those who think you can't do it, even at a later age, which I did, it was the time. Come back. Don't stop. Don't stop learning or leading, because that's what you're doing in life. You're always leading, being a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're following, you're still leading because someone else is watching, always. So, well, I went into different realms trying to still find my way. I went into investment. I went into financial and credit repairs. I hold a real estate license. I hold an insurance license. Um, I have co-authored 3 books. I'm
Wow.
still writing. Um, you know, along the way, I still was like, I don't know, I can do more.
Mm-hmm.
I always had the drive and ambition to do more because I just said society is not going to limit me because of the ability.
Correct.
Because I felt like I was able. And so I just kept saying, you know what? No, I'm going to be better for my kids than I was for me. And that was the key for me. It wasn't for everyone else. I wasn't even going to be better for them. I was going to be a better example by being better for me.
Wow. So, with all of those things that you hold, because you hold insurance and because you hold real estate, you have some fallback
I do.
things that you can fall back on. Again, learning. Some people say, "Oh, the real estate test is so hard to do. The real estate is so difficult." Again, apply yourself, put yourself in there, and it could happen. But let's talk about the daughter's distraction became your action, because I think that's also in your ebook.
It is in my ebook.
Okay, let's talk about that.
The topic that I sometimes am asked to speak about is my daughter's distraction became my action. And what that is because, as I mentioned, my daughter Desiree, who's now 18.
And graduates this year.
Yep, senior. 2 years ago, my daughter, when I started, I wasn't a public speaker. I actually had fear of public speaking. Mm-hmm. You couldn't get me on there because my face would go red. I felt like I was going to pass out, throw up. I know that some people, so don't feel like you were alone. But I had a daughter who couldn't speak. And yet, every time we would get close to a stage or a microphone, she was looking for the microphone, and people would actually hand her the microphone.
Listen, before we go any further, we were here a week before my birthday, and Desi came, and Donnie came. My niece and nephew came. Let me tell you something. They were having Christmas parties, okay? Desi, don't let her fool you. This little girl had us running around chasing her because she wanted to go into the parties. She went into those private parties, okay? We sitting out there like, did she really go?
Yeah.
And it was like, just leave her alone. She is that person who will take that run and she will go for it. You can
fearless. That's my fierce girl.
Trust me. She is the fierce girl. Go ahead, finish on.
Yeah, and so it was 2 years ago. My nonprofit did a special needs pageant. And all the kids could do spirit wear. Well, of course, they did the typical Batman, Catwoman, Wonder Woman. But Desi, she signs. So I am a sign language interpreter for the deaf as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Desiree, our communication was signing. And when she signed to me, her spirit wear that she actually wanted was an angel. Wow. She wanted to be an angel. So I had a friend, Sarah, who heard about this, and she, in fact, made Desiree a beautiful angel costume. It was silver metallic. I can still see it. But it was that day, in that moment, because where I used to be, to be honest, I used to be embarrassed because when Desiree would get to anybody's microphone, it would be meep, jeep, creep, you never knew what was coming out because, again, she's nonverbal. And so I would just start telling people, like, okay, get the mic, or, and finally at the pageant, it just hit. When Desiree came across that stage in her spirit wear, she had walked, actually, she was a little faster. The little girl they said wouldn't walk or talk does.
That's her.
But she sped to the microphone that was on a stand and outspread those silver wings. And when she started giving her meet, jeep, creep, weep, everyone stood. And it was in that moment that I said, OMG, here I am. Shame on me. Like, here is a nonverbal child, fearless, ready to say something to the world and can't. But here stands her mother, with the ability to be a voice
for her.
And I was afraid.
But, I think that comes with also sometimes we don't know our limits. And sometimes we don't know how people are going to take us. When I used to take my son D'Anthony out all the time, he drools a lot. The stares that people would get, the stares that we would get. And I'm the type of mother you say, I'll fight your kids. Okay. I just say, I'll fight your kids. But we just didn't know. We did not know. And Desi has that drive. I'll never forget when she was a guest on our show. Desiree has that drive. And I said, I wanted to do another pageant and have her to be able to sign and introduce the people. So now as time is going by and we're laying different foundations and platforms, because we can always want to do something, but timing is not right. Desi is her own entity. She has her own brand. She is, the word fearless definitely describes her. She's just not where we would sit back and be reserved. Not that queen.
And I always say she goes by DEZ, her Des. And I always say that it stands for, I made up an acronym for her, and I say she's definitely the disability empowerment zone.
Yes, she is. And she and so with that being said, when you realize you should be ashamed of yourself for trying to put limits and strains and constraints on a person who is not willing to be constrained.
Yep.
What did you do from that point when you realized, okay, hey, it's no stopping her?
I started her the Fierce Girl model.
Right.
And I then also made it that day. I realized it was not a title. It was a calling on my life that I had to share her and be helpful in the process. So when I launched her, people then started tuning in, but what they failed to realize was it was me. And I had to, come back in and say, well, okay, hold on. Because I was doing all the work, but they kept interacting like they were interacting with a normal child that was responding. And I didn't want to do that. I felt like it was giving the misconception of she had the ability to type and text and talk. What they didn't know was on the side, it was Desiree responding, but we had to communicate in a different way. And then I would come in and say what she wanted to say.
So then, therefore, they were responding they were talking to her
in a different,
because you would sign to her. She would sign back to you and you would respond.
Yes. And so then what I started doing was every day when people would comment on her page, I would read it to her. I would tell her what it said. And then I would let her go in and pick a GIF. So the pictures that were coming to everyone's response was actually, in fact, Desiree.
So are we still doing this Fierce Girl movement?
The Fierce Girl movement has slightly halted again because I'm one person trying to, at that time, I was running 9 different pages. Being multi-talented, I always say it's a gift and a curse at times.
At the same time, yeah.
Because you only are one person. But in answer to your question, yes, she will be back and running. I'm looking for a assistant for her
Correct.
specific
So,
solely.
thank you. Now, here we are, two multitasking women looking you in your face. And you can call us on 202-630-7323. We're both looking for assistance, and we're looking for someone who's compassionate, who can actually run a page for Des, for also get her speaking and engagements, and of course you'll get stipends and things like that, and you'll get community service hours. So please, if you're looking for some work to do or to volunteer, please reach out to us, 202-630-7323. And that's our line, and you could just reach us there.
And actually, to date, Desiree has inspired a lot of people. She actually has almost 15,000 followers, actually, on Instagram.
Wow. So we need to move that. If you're interested in adults and children with disabilities, please, please, please reach out to us at 202-630-7323. Let's talk about MINC.
Hey.
MINC. Tell us what that means.
Most individuals need training.
Most individuals need training. Yes. How did that come up? How did that concept come?
Well, it actually stemmed from my special needs life. And as you were talking, the judgment of people, period. Oh, yes. Whether they admit that they're doing it, they do it.
Yes, they do.
And so therefore, how do we get better at that? How do we judge less? Well, if you're not walking in that person's shoes, whether it's that parent, that customer, that employer, you won't understand in depth what that really feels like. And it's not looks like, because a lot of things, they always say, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, that's still true, because you don't know what that person went through.
That's right.
To get where they are. You don't know if they had to walk 10 miles, take 2 transit buses, switch over just to get that little, what one might think, oh, this is just a minimum wage job. To somebody, that's their survival. Mm-hmm. That's their livelihood.
Correct.
But how do you, recognize, that in a person? I always like to say that you should hire for an attitude, train for the skill. Because the right personality is important.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to look good on paper. It has to look good in person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about that though, about the right attitude, because I notice sometimes, like even in the 4- and 5-star hotels that we tend to go to.
Oh,
stop. the hotels that we tend to go to a lot, like sometimes they don't treat us right, and when I say don't treat us right, like, hi,
not greeted.
Yeah, and case in point, we're in a 4-star hotel now, and when I came in, I'm a gold member. She could tell you what happened.
Well, yes, I do want to address this, because the last hotel we went to had issues, and it was a 5-star hotel, which was known for their customer service. Well, when you're actually a customer service training, unfortunately for them, I know all the things that they're not doing. But in case, what she's referring to, yesterday was when we came in, there were 3 people. And no one even said hello, like, thank you. She's actually a gold member, as she said. So they're actually entitled, when you're a gold member, to get a little care package, per se.
Correct.
And they didn't even offer it. And when she mentioned it, as I could tell that she was slightly irritated, which is what you don't want to do, because you just, for this customer, which is her, you just created that moment of misery. Because now she walked away, and she still to this moment has not gotten that, even though she mentioned it out loud. They were supposed to have their little cookie display out. Well, it wasn't available either. So now you got multiple things.
Moments.
Yes.
Because that's the first
that matter.
Now, I want to send a shout out to another hotel that I'm not going to mention their name, but they're in Pineville, Charlotte, North Carolina. And some of you have saw some folk on social media saw that I gave them a big to hoop because everything was so warm, so welcoming. Like every day they were asking me, was I okay? Did I need anything else? I was like, gosh, this is living. But here, and like earlier, I went and said, I said, I'm a gold member, and I didn't. Oh, what do you want out of the cake? Well, normally they would just bag it up and just say, here you are, Miss Harris. But that didn't happen here.
All non-perishable, so it should have already been. They should have already been prepackaged up, put in the back.
No, they just say, what you want? So they just grabbed me.
Mm-hmm.
I did get a soda.
Well, and if you have, I understand that even in some hotels, which was, the point of our last one we were in, when you have, the people didn't even look at the unit. They looked at somebody's booked the room, period. But had they looked at there was 4, adults going to be in this room, well, when you give that person 3 towels,
nope,
it doesn't matter how much drought or conservative you're trying to be. Someone is not getting what they need, not even what they want at that point.
Because they looked at and they realized it's 4 adults, and they packaged the room up for 3 adults. Mm-hmm. So MENT is most individuals need training. Where can we find you?
Well, currently, DannyKeys.org, but all my media has just been branded, and it is coming to you next week, and all of them will be at MENT Trainer.
Okay. So most individuals need training. What would you say to the new entrepreneur that is starting? Like, let me go back 1 second. When we talked about learning, you said to me today, this morning, it's like 6 o'clock our time. It was like 9 o'clock your time. But you said to me this morning, they should be given something as a result of doing this. Now, I would have never thought about that. But because I'm open-minded to most individuals, regardless of who the individual is, you could be a cashier, you could be a table wiper, you could be a bus girl, you could be a metro driver, you could be a pilot. It doesn't matter. You could be an author, an actress, a motivational speaker. It doesn't matter who you are. If you are an individual who is going to be trying to touch other people's lives in any kind of way, take the perks. Take the perks. Because guess what? What she didn't tell you was that her dad was a motivational speaker. Right?
True. He was the national president.
The national president of the Speakers Bureau, Speakers Association. So at the end of the day, I'm speaking different places. I'm going places. So I have to be retrained from my trainer in the avenues that I need to go and how I need to package myself, because the last package that I had was unsuccessful, but very profitable to someone else. But it didn't profit me anything. So I need to find out, where did we go wrong? How did this happen? Go back to MENT.
Let me help you with that real quick. The problem that most people have these days is, even if they have, customer service that is good, it's not great. And so therefore, when you're just meeting customer satisfaction, which is what that did, like you said, it was profitable. There wasn't nothing wrong with it, but there wasn't nothing wow about it either. It's that mediocre, just average, standard. Satisfaction doesn't equal success.
Yes.
Because these days, customers are expecting, like I always say, own your extra mile, own your extra item, who you are, then give it something extra, because you don't want to be average. And just meeting the customer satisfaction and hoping they stay, that's a no-go. They won't.
Wow. So the beautiful thing about that is, like I said, when you kind of sort of powwow early in the morning, it's early, you hear the birds chirping, you see the sunlight coming in, and everything is fresh and new. And so I learned a lot this morning, and I've been knowing her for a while, but I learned a lot this morning that's going to go in my backpack for different things, even as we discuss books, as we discuss our journeys, speaking engagements. She didn't tell you guys. I mean, we watched my movie, but she didn't tell you guys that even being coming through domestic violence, and to see her today, it just never ceases to amaze me what the journey that people will go through. So everything is on thementtrainer.com coming up. Look her up, Dani, Dani Keys, Keys. Look her up, but she will, and get on her mailing list. You know, if you want her to come out and speak or whatever, please get on her train. It will not crash. I'm telling you, if you have, I don't care who you are.
It might have some sparkles and flashing lights,
yes,
and music, but
it's gonna be the DK train, baby. Okay. I'm super duper excited. I'm so glad you joined us today. And I'm also, again, look for her on Dani Keys on everything, because it's going to be the Mint Trainer, Mint, and she runs around with peppermints.
I do, because it meant something.
It meant,
you know, and I always say that, you know, people always wait. You know, if you think about it in life, when does everyone give? And what do they give? Well, they give at Christmas. Why? Because it feels good. And I said, well, shouldn't every experience be a gift? Shouldn't it feel good daily? Yes. And so in Christmas, you know, it reminds me of the candy canes or the peppermints. And, you know, they talk about what that symbolizes for people of faith. Well, I am, you know, it just is what it is. And I'm not ashamed of that.
No, we're not.
So I do carry around peppermints, and I say, it meant something. Someone saying a simple thank you. It means something to them, or they want to set it. And to me, you know, it meant something to both parties.
That's right.
So just common, you know, my dad always says common sense is not so common, and he is factual.
Correct.
Even, you know, the bosses, you know, have to be trained, because what they feel, you know, may be a certain level that they have then stepped away and left it to a certain individual.
And you know what?
To complete.
Right there is that has been my issue. Because sometimes I can be, and people say, oh, I love to work for you. You're so nice. No, you better love me from a distance, because I think right here, and then I bring other people in, and I think that they should already be right here. And that's not the case. You have to train them, but the trainer needs training so that we know how to treat people.
Correct. And actually, I will say that my dad has always been an excellent boss. And so I've watched him.
Even with all his girlfriends.
Yeah. Well, he was always sweet to him, so that's how he got him.
Excellent.
He was excellent. My dad has great customer service.
Great customer service, Daddy.
Sorry, Dad, I love you.
We love you. But you are our inspiration to bringing service to the customer, bringing customs to the customers, bringing things that mean something to people. And so your daughter, who's my sister also, we appreciate your trailblazing. We appreciate the road that you travel, because the road that you travel opened up roads for other people, such as it's raining, you know, anointings come down, curses come from ground up. So you poured on to your daughter what she's in turn pouring on to other people. And then we will also pour on what was given to us to other people. So I'm excited about the journey.
And my mother too. I do want to give her credit, because
shout out to mommy.
My mother is my empowerment.
Mommy.
Because I've seen her struggle and survive. She's not just a survivor. She's a deliverer.
That's right. And we don't want to be just survivors.
She's my creative brain.
We want to be deliverers, because Mom, we also just want to say to you, God bless you. And we love you for showing us what a true deliverer should look like. Showing us that no matter what we've been through and what we can endure so much. And we thank you for that. We never want to put the women under the bus. We want to make sure they're up, and and you're giving honor as well. But we have to go. But until next time, keep living, keep giving, but most of all, keep loving. Find me on I Am Andree Harris at everything. I Am Andree Harris, Facebook, Instagram, all of that stuff. And we love you guys. Thank you so much, Danny, for joining us today. We are excited. There's so much more to come. So guess what? Until next time, we'll see you then.